we get into camp?
It's been super competitive, I think, both offensively and defensively, but also in each position room. And I think, one guy will have a good day or a couple good plays, and then that's motivating the guys behind him. It's still pretty early to say. I think we've had some guys who've shown up, but now we need to do it on a consistent basis, right? It can't just be a flash in the pan. And I think, you start to see guys stacking days. So that's, I think, what we're looking forward kind of into this next block of practices that we have to see who was finishing this block on a high note and then can maintain that consistency of success. But it's been competitive. It's been fun to really watch how the guys have competed.
And then, do you feel like the familiarity with Coach Longo, with being here before, do you feel like any of that has helped speed up the development a little bit as we get into camp?
Oh, absolutely. I've known Coach Longo for almost 15 years now. We've worked together, multiple stops, here being one of them. So I think we have a really good familiarity relationship. We think very similarly, obviously, and our offensive philosophy is pretty much on point. So I think that helps with our communication and our ability to get the information to the staff and to the players. And then you add in us being at Sam, so we know, we have familiarity with the facilities, even though this is a newer place than when we left, but we kind of know how Sam Houston is. We know where the dining halls are. We know, so it's we're having to figure less things out. It's just kind of maybe shaking off some of the rust, or it's a different way to get there. We got to park in a different spot now, but I think that has really allowed the transition for us as a staff to allow them to have the information that they need so that we can get it to the players.
If my memory serves me correct, your offensive coordinator and wide receivers coach this year.
Tight ends coach.
Okay.
I was the assistant receivers coach last year at Wisconsin. Okay. So now tight ends.
What have you kind of seen from the tight end group and the receiver group this year? With some guys that have been here before and these new guys that are coming in.
I think there's excitement about what we're doing offensively. I think we're utilizing some of those guys in different ways than they were with the previous staff. And so I think there's been a sense of newness, right? So the guys are always excited to, okay, hey, maybe we're going to get different opportunities to showcase our skill set. And so they're really taking stride with that and learning some new techniques, learning some new or different ways to get open in the pass game, or different techniques. So I think the guys are really embracing that and excited about that, and I think that brings that energy because they're seeing, they've seen the success that Coach has had and we've had in this offense at both of those positions in the past. And so now it is really them embracing and buying into what we're doing so that they can get those same results.
The offensive line is another group that is, I believe, probably has the most continuity on this team. What have you just seen from them growing together, as well as adding the new pieces that you have to every year?
Yeah, I think anytime you add new pieces, it's always great when you have so many veteran guys coming back, because they're able to show the new guys kind of the standard of how things are done. And when we were here previously, we had some really good offensive lines, and I think they had some really good offensive line play last year, and now I think it is Coach Hop is doing a really good job of kind of getting them the fundamentals and the techniques for what we're asking them to do, and they've embraced that, and it's a really physical group, and that's, I think, something that often gets overlooked in an air raid style of offense, and that's something that I know we preach is physicality, and we have a lot of guys that want to put people on the ground, which is a good thing.
Longo says his air raid style wasn't necessarily an air raid, but so what have you seen out of the running back room that's pretty much completely rebuilt from last year?
It's a lot of new faces even since the springtime. But it's a group that I think we're really excited about, because in our offense, it's not just about handing the ball to running backs, right? They got to be versatile. They got to be weapons. They have to be able to catch the ball out of the backfield. And we have a lot of guys that can do that. We have a lot of guys that can be mismatches, moving them around and getting them the ball in some creative ways. And then, I mean, we have speed. They run hard. They have great physicality when they're running. And Coach Antonio Williams is doing a great job kind of getting those guys where they need to be. So it's exciting to see the new faces that we do have. There's a lot of again, competition in that room, and iron sharpens iron, because one guy rips off a long run, that just motivates that next guy, and they're really battling each other, to see that cream rise to the top. But they're also super supportive of each other. And I think that's the type of culture that we have.
And then just, we have to ask, what have you seen just between Hunter and Mabry, just, in that battle that's going on?
It is, it's funny because I feel like everyone always says the same thing when it's a quarterback battle, and it's close, and it's coaching speak and rhetoric and stuff like that. But, like, genuinely, these guys are just, it's like a heavyweight fight. They're duking it out, and they truly are making each other better. So it's been fun to watch Hunter's progression in the offense. Mabry was with Coach and I at Wisconsin last year, so he has that familiarity with it. But it is really coming down to, again, who's going to be the most consistent guy, who's going to make the best decisions, who's going to put our offense in the best possible spots. And they both are really making some really good decisions, and I think we're excited about both of them. And again, having our kind of first block out of the way now, kind of seeing now we're going to get into some more situational football stuff to see how they handle those, and who can just be more consistent.
Thank you.